I'll run through a few things and then we'll turn it back over to you.
The question I have is, somebody there going to be monitoring the raised hands, or you want me to be doing that?
No, we'll have James is monitoring the raised hands, and he will cue us when there's somebody who's wants to speak.
Can we have, okay, so, all right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the May 27th, 2020 Sacramento, San Joaquin Delta Conservancy Board meeting. We're calling it to order. We're not going to have a Pledge of Allegiance. Campbell, are you reading the language, or am I?
Yeah, I can do that if you like. That's fine.
Go ahead. I've done it so many times, I screw it up all the time.
Okay, so just pursuant to executive order, board members, staff, and the public may participate remotely. The public may observe, provide comment during the public meeting period, and otherwise observe remotely in accordance with the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act. Questions and public comments can be addressed to contact@deltaconservancy.ca.gov prior to and during the meeting. And if you, so that's essentially the note. A few other quick notes. This is our first time using Zoom, so we appreciate your patience and appreciate your participation. If you are if you're not a board member or staff, you will have to raise your hand. So you'll want to go down to the participants note at the bottom, and within participants note there is a raise your hand. You can raise your hand. I noticed that Jim Provenza has raised his hand. I think he just joined. He's a board member. James, if you could recognize him as such, that'd be great.
Will do.
Board members who have all been recognized will have the ability to mute and unmute themselves. And if you're a public member, you will have to raise your hand. If you're calling in on the phone to raise your hand, you're going to want to hit #2, and then again, James will recognize you. If you're on your phone, you're likely going to have to unmute yourself as well. So one more time, if you're the public member, there will be public comment periods. You can just chime in, or if you'd like to, you can reach out to, you can send your comment in to contact@deltaconservancy.ca.gov. So I think with that, Karen, we're ready for Elisa to do a roll call vote to establish a quorum, but I think we'll forego having everyone introduce themselves just because it'd be quite cumbersome.
Yes. What I would like, can we not have a shared screen at this time? Because I like the gallery view until that somebody's making a present. There you go. Thank you very much. Everybody's here. And if you are calling in as a public member, I think there is a way to raise your hand so that you can be recognized. All right. May we have roll call, please?
Yes, this is Jessica, and I am doing roll call.
Oh, sorry, Jessica.
No, it's all right. Welcome. Chair Karen Mitchoff.
Here.
Vice Chair Winternitz.
Here.
Board Member Supervisor Natoli.
Here.
Supervisor Miller.
Here.
Supervisor Thompson.
Here.
Supervisor Provenza.
You're muted, Jim.
Here. Sorry.
There he is.
Good morning. Board Member Richard Gillihan.
Here.
Board Member Brian Cash.
Here.
Board Member Matsumoto.
Here.
Board Member Ruth Stoller. I saw you, Larry.
Larry, you need to unmute yourself.
I did.
There, no, now you're
There it
muted.
is.
Good morning. Board Member Sandoval.
Present.
Sandoval. Assembly Member Grayson.
Yes, present.
Welcome. Hi, Tim.
Yeah.
Hi, Karen.
At this time, can I ask if there's liaison advisors present?
Mike Valines from the Central Valley Flood Protection Board is on.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
Steve Chappelle, Sassoon Resource Conservation District.
I'm sorry, can I get your name again?
Steve Chappelle,
Hi, Steve.
Conservation District.
Eric Vink, are you here? Okay, thank you. Roll call is complete.
I think just one more, I believe, Jessica, Moira McNSB is here with the Coastal Conservancy.
Moira McKinnesby?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, did you call Sandy Matsumoto? I see her there, but I didn't.
I sure did.
Okay,
We
excellent.
did.
Okay, well, Karen, I
Great.
think we're all established and ready to go if you want to.
All right, thank you. Item number 3 is public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on any item not on the agenda today? You will be offered an opportunity to comment on items on the agenda at the appropriate time. But is anybody raising their hand? Doesn't look like it, so we will move forward. Did we receive any emails relative to general public comment?
I don't believe we have.
We
All
did.
right.
Campbell, I just sent it your way. It looks like it was a thread of 2 emails.
Is it on an item on the agenda or just general public comment?
General public comment.
All right, Campbell, are you going to read that?
Let's see if I've got it. So from Martha Ash, reply 5.
Yes.
What physical locations are the agendas posted in addition to the website? I believe
just
all of our
respond to-
posting is electronic. Is that correct,
Is-
Lisa and Jessica? Yeah, we do full electronic posting.
Under Badgley Clean, under Brown Act, we have to physically post an agenda also at the location. You don't have to do that? Under Badgley Clean?
We have never encountered that.
Well, let's look into that and respond to her after the meeting as to why we can do it only digitally, and if she wants to get on our email list, we'll be happy to include her.
Yes,
She did
absolutely.
have a couple other questions in there about the when it was posted and requirements of Bagley Keen and COVID-19. So we can also reply to those as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, our consent calendar is next, which is the approval of the March 25th, 2020 board meetings and consideration of amendment to the budget scope and term of the Knights and Wetland Restoration and Flood Protection Project. Is there any public comment on this? Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, this is Richard Gillihan with the Department of Finance. If I may,
You want to?
if I could
I was
ask,
going to ask for discussion after we get the motion out there.
Okay.
Oh, did you want to pull something from the consent
I
calendar?
was going to ask that we could split the vote because I wasn't present for the prior meeting on the minutes.
Can you just abstain? Well, did you
Yeah.
read them?
Yes, I
Did
did.
you read the minutes?
Yes, I did.
You're allowed to vote for them then.
I know, I'd rather abstain.
All right, fine. Let us, may I have a motion for the approval of the minutes, please?
So moved.
I'll second.
May I have a
Sorry,
second by
can I
Leo?
say
Did
who
you get,
did that?
who was the mover?
Sandoval.
Sandoval, and seconded by Leo. I'm sorry, Leo.
It's all right.
Is there any further discussion on the minutes? We need a roll call vote, please. Who's taking the roll call vote?
I am. I had to unmute, excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Supervisor Mitchoff,
Yes.
Vice Chair Winternitz,
Yes.
Supervisor Natoli,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Yes.
Supervisor Thompson,
Abstain, was not present.
Supervisor Provenza,
Yes.
Board Member Cash,
Aye.
Board Member Matsumoto,
Yes.
Board Member Rustaller. Larry, are you muted?
Hit the space bar, Larry. There you go. That's your vote,
Board Member
Larry.
Rustaller. Can we get a thumbs up?
Larry, you're still muted.
How's that?
There you
Perfect.
go.
Would you like to vote on that?
Yeah, I said yes 100 times.
Board Member,
We need to start using sign language.
I tell you. Board Member Sandoval.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 votes yes, it passes.
And 1 abstention.
1 abstention.
Jessica, is there a way for you to move your screen? Because we're just getting a lovely shot of your head,
Top
of
of your
your
head.
hair.
Oh my gosh, should we just stop my video?
There you go.
There we
Nice
go.
to see the whole you. All right.
Not
We're going to
my,
move on to motion. Pardon me? There you go. May I have a motion for the consideration of the amendment to the budget scope and terms of the Nights and Wetland Restoration and Flood Protection Project? Okay, I'm going to start calling people. Larry, you're going to move it, and Sandy, you're going to second it, okay?
Fine.
Fine. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Mitchoff,
Yes.
Supervisor Winternitz,
Yes.
Board Member Winternitz,
Yes.
Supervisor Natoli,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Yes.
Supervisor Thompson,
Yes.
Supervisor Provenza,
Yes.
Board Member Gillahan,
Yes.
Board Member Cash,
Aye.
Board Member Matsumoto,
Yes.
Board Member Rustoller, aye. Board Member Sandoval,
Yes.
all moved. It passes.
Excellent.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 5, which is Campbell's Executive Officer's Report.
Well, good morning again, everyone. Thanks for being here. It's a little clunky, but it does work, and it's what we have. So I want to start by welcoming 2 new staff members. Very happy to welcome Martha Osnoff. She is our newly hired Associate Government Program Analyst. She is joining our administrative team and is going to assist with grant contract management. And as many of you may recognize, Martha is actually coming to us from the Yola Basin Foundation, where she was the executive director. And
Is she
was
on
actually,
the call? Can she raise her hand if she's
I didn't see her on the call earlier.
okay?
Martha,
She
are you
is
there?
she is in training today.
Oh,
It was
I see. All right.
non-reschedulable.
so, and you probably remember too that she was actually the liaison advisor to the Conservancy from the Yola Basin Foundation. So we are delighted to have her. Next up, also very happy to welcome Shelley Temple King. She's our newly hired environmental scientist. And Shelley's going to be working on the Proposition 1 program and developing projects and initiatives with the Conservancy. Shelley is a relatively recent transplant from the state of Florida, where she worked in various science museum organizations. So we want to welcome both Shelley and Martha, and it's great to have you both on board.
Is Shelley on the call?
She is. Say hi, Shelley.
There you are. I always like to welcome new staff. How do you like your new office? Do you have everything you need? You know, the appropriate equipment and everything?
Well, I'm very comfortable in my new office because it's my living room.
There you go. Close.
So yeah.
Okay, great. We need a little humor every once in a while, folks. All right. Go ahead, please, Campbell.
Onboarding new staff in their homes is a little bit different and challenging, but we're making it work. Okay, so on to the program update. I'm going to move through this relatively quickly and just hit the high points. The Nutria update, there's very little information there, but we are planning on doing a full overview of the Nutria program at our July board meeting. We'll have CDFW in and just give us a top to bottom overview. I can tell you, they shifted their update timing, so it's just last week. So I can tell you that we are now up to, why can I not see the number? Right. 1,168 Nutria taken to date. And so what you see is, you know, a steadily slow increase in the number of Nutria taken and not exponential increase, which is really good. I think the program's working quite well. And as I mentioned, we'll get a much fuller update at our July meeting. Just want to mention the mercury exposure reduction program actually is later in the agenda. Kit is going to give us an overview, a final overview of the project, and tell us all about that. Moving on to community and enhancement and economic development. Wanted to report that we had reached out to Department of Caltrans to get encroachment permits to be able to place the welcome to the Delta signs that we were intending to put out throughout the Delta. And unfortunately, those permits have been denied. There's a community monument exemption, or not exemption, but permit that you can get to actually place such signs. But unfortunately, only cities, counties, and unincorporated communities are eligible. So we've been denied. So we continue to work with Caltrans and others, and the Delta Protection Commission, who are also partners in this effort to try to get those signs placed, but it's been problematic.
Karen, can I raise my hand? It's Don Natoli. I wanted to ask a question.
Sure, go ahead, Don.
Yeah, Campbell, it would seem to me that between the unincorporated areas and the cities, you have pretty good representation both on the commission as well as on the Conservancy board. And when I think about the number of signs throughout the Delta, and I'll just take the Sacramento County portion, and, I don't know those strategic locations where those 11 signs were going to be, but for a simple request that helps to enhance presence of where you are and welcome folks to the Delta, and for two state agencies to be denied by another state agency, it just seems a little bit, I understand they have regulations, but I guess I'd like to see, certainly in Sacramento County, I'd be willing to see what we could do to, with working with the District 3 representatives, Caltrans, and if we have to find an unincorporated location close to a highway intersection, again, I don't know what the 11 locations were, but I certainly like to see us be able to do that. A lot of effort was poured into that certainly by Conservancy and Commission staff and, public interaction and so forth. And I just find it very disappointing that, we'd be denied the opportunity to, I think, further some folks to the Delta and to make that statement to folks that come to visit and to those who pass through there or live there. So I would want to offer my assistance. So I just want to put that out there.
Well, I really appreciate that.
I was going to suggest the same thing. Maybe if you could provide us with the locations where you want to place the signs. I still think we need to work with Caltrans. And I know somebody who's a former director of Caltrans, so perhaps if you can give me some details offline, I can talk to him about how we can get around that. But in the meantime, if there are locations and they fall within each of our jurisdictions, if we have to go that route, we have to go that route. And Assemblymember Grayson, I'm sure you're listening, and we put that on your list of things to take care of next year after we're out of COVID.
I just did that.
Thank you very much. I know Tim is right next door to me in our offices downtown Concord, and he's very on top of things.
Good.
Go ahead, Campbell.
Well, I can share, do appreciate that and couldn't agree more. I can share that we have taken it all the way up to the headquarters with Caltrans. There does seem to be two potential options. One is that local counties or communities that have not used their single sign that they're allowed to place could potentially transfer the rights to do that, so we could look at that. There was also a potential legislative option where I think we could probably get the Delta Legislative Caucus or Coalition to weigh in. So we'll continue to explore alternatives but start to be more active in engaging our county supervisor board members and awareness of how we'll move forward. I think we'll get it done. This is just unfortunately kind of an early sort of bureaucratic block.
Why don't you go through the Delta Coalition and just keep us in the loop, because nobody needs to double their efforts or do things that others are doing, and hopefully, and Assemblymember Grayson obviously is part of that Delta Coalition, but Assemblymember Frazier is chair of the Transportation Committee in the Assembly, and so perhaps, and he's on that coalition. I think let's explore that avenue first. Is that all right with you, Don?
Yeah, Karen, that's fine. Sure. No, I think it's good. Certainly with Senator Grayson and Frazier and others in our Delta Caucus, we have very able and capable representation and probably have a more direct line to Caltrans than some of us at the county level. So
yeah.
No, that sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. We'll do that. Thank you. Okay, moving on, just a few more items. If anybody has not done their Form 700, the deadline has now been extended to June 1st. It is all completely online, but if you have any challenge, questions, or problems, and you still need to do that, you can reach Jessica and she will guide you through that. Moving on to board directives, there were no board directives, so this concludes the program update. And any questions at this point?
Any other questions or comments
So
for
any other
Campbell?
questions on?
Seeing none, go ahead with the budget then, Campbell, please.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Me. Hi.
Hi.
Agenda item 5.2 is our Sacramento San Joaquin Delta Conservancy budget and expenditure report. This is our third quarter report, goes from July 1st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020. Again, we are at the third quarter, so I just wanted to bring up a couple items that might have been affected by COVID, that will be affected. One would be our travel. Our travel pretty much cut off at the beginning of March, so our budget we might not use up the budget in that area. Also, our training, there will be some drop off in training. We had a lot of cancellations toward the end of the year, again, due to our new situation. Some were being able to reschedule online. Did anyone have any questions about the budget and expenditure report? Thank you.
So I wanted to,
Jessica.
if I could, I just wanted to just add a little bit regarding budget and expenditures. You know, this is the time of year, every year, that due to our prudent fiscal management, as well as some of the savings that Jessica mentioned, we try to move some money at the end of year and get it under contract before the end of the fiscal year. Just wanted to make you aware that, you know, this year things are a little different in that those expenditures need exemptions because of the anticipated budget impacts of the pandemic. So we have gotten exemptions, and we're proceeding with several small items and then 3 that are slightly more significant. So I'm just going to list them right now so you're aware. We're going to try to do an organizational assessment, just an opportunity to have a third party come in and help look at our organization top to bottom and provide some recommendations about how we can, you know, do continuous improvement. That's going to run close to right around $20,000 approximately. We're going to do a contract for student services that will help support the management of the visitcadelta.com website. That's managing that website and keeping it updated has been a challenge, and we're looking for student services to help with that. That's going to run about $7,000. And then the last one is slightly more significant. And if you recall, we've had a contract for our Delta Carbon program that has been shepherding wetland projects through the carbon protocol process to verify carbon credits and then connect them to the carbon market for a revenue stream. We're going to extend that contract and add additional funds of about $80,000 to do at least 2 more projects and get them moving. There's a rice cultivation project as well as some wetland projects that we're going to be working on. So both the second and third of there are really, you know, economic stimulus efforts. They will absolutely contribute to the economy of the Delta. And when we get those contracts, you know, finally moving and approved, we will obviously report back exact numbers to the board at our next meeting in July. So I just want to put that out there. And unless there's any questions, that would conclude the executive. It looks like Dolly has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Campbell. Campbell, as I'm looking at that budget, if you're looking on line 20 and line 27, in terms of contracts and personal funded, personal services external, as well as non-capital asset purchases, do we expect those to be those dramatic savings that we're seeing at the moment? Or are we going to have expenditures in those particular areas for starters?
Answer that?
Yeah, please, Jessica.
You betcha. The non-capital asset purchases, we will be using all those funds for some office furniture from our extension. So that one will be used up. The contracts and personal services, much of that will be used up, but we should have a savings on that from some of our federal funding won't be used up on those. So we have a couple contracts that won't be. So I anticipate about $60,000 of that to be left by year end.
And then Jessica, are we able to roll that over into a future year? Or is it
I'm only laughing, Dolly, because we all, if only it could be so. I'm assuming the answer is no.
Well, in my former days, it was a use it or lose it mentality, which seemed.
Yes.
The federal dollars are, we have a allocation that we have for federal funding up to a certain point. We haven't used that up to a certain point. So we're allowed to use so much every year. If we don't use it, we don't lose it. It's an authority opposed to a use.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Jessica? Okay, with that, it appears to be the end of her report, and is it time to move on to the update on Proposition 1?
Yes, it is. Thank you, everyone.
And Aaron's going to give that report. Hi, Aaron.
Hello, good morning. Yeah, so the usual Proposition 1 update. First off, I'd like to give you a little bit of a brief update on Cycle 5. Last board meeting, I explained and outlined a plan that staff had developed to open the Proposition 1 Cycle 5 grant solicitation, so our next grant solicitation, in August of 2021. If you look at the current staff report, you'll see a mention about exploring other possibilities. Staff has done so. We've outlined a number of different possibilities and schedules for running Cycle 5 sooner than August 2021. However, based on the costs and benefits involved, have determined that our original plan is really the most sensible one from our perspective. And so that is the one we're going to be moving forward with, unless we hear otherwise from the Natural Resources Agency or the Governor's Office or elsewhere in state legislature. So just for a moment, I'll pause in case there are any questions about running Cycle 5.
Okay.
And hearing none. Moving to our regular approved project updates. As usual, we will run from Cycle 4, Cycle 3, Cycle 2, and Cycle 1. And I've highlighted a few significant developments for a few projects, but if anyone has questions about those or any other project, by all means, jump in and we can discuss them as we go along. So Cycle 4, 2 grant agreements have been executed now, and staff is working on executing the other 8, one of which has been sent off to the grantee for their final signature, so hopefully that will be executed momentarily. And in case anyone's wondering, that was the Nutria Eradication Project number 2, which is at the top of page 4 on the report. And as Campbell mentioned, we're going to be getting a much more detailed and complete review of the Nutria project at our next board meeting. Moving back to Cycle 3, I'm excited to say that finally all of the grant agreements have now been executed. The entire cycle is running forward and making pretty good progress despite COVID-19. Continuing even back farther to Cycle 2, one noteworthy accomplishment is the Dutch Slough Revegetation Project, which is at the bottom of page 7 on the report. And the grantee has now planted 260 acres of tules, sedges, grasses, riparian habitat, which represents about 50% of their total project area, which is a pretty significant benchmark to have finally hit on this large and very impactful and meaningful project. So we're pretty excited about that one. And then continuing backwards to Cycle 3, 3 grants have closed. A 4th one is scheduled to close right around the time of our next board meeting. So that cycle's worth of grants are slowly winding down. One noteworthy development there, though, a very exciting one, is the Three Creeks Parkway Restoration Project, which is the bottom of page 9 on the report. I'm very pleased to report that the county has approved the construction contractor, and construction is now going to be starting in June. And in fact, on June 25th, there's a groundbreaking celebration that Campbell and I will be attending, and that Campbell is actually speaking at. And other than that, that pretty much wraps up the Proposition 1 update. Any questions about anything Prop 1?
Anyone have any questions for Aaron? Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
We will, I'm moving back and forth between two computers. That's why I keep doing this. One's got the agenda and the other's got all the materials. All right, moving on to item 7, which is the Proposition 68 program update. And Robin will be giving us that report, correct?
Yes. Good morning, Chair and directors and everyone, and thanks for the opportunity to give the Prop 68 program update. As a reminder, and I know you hear it from me every time, but I just like to remind that we've designed the program in a way that allows staff to partner with project proponents to develop proposals that meet program goals. So this means that even if the project has significant issues, we are able to work with the project proponent to develop a full proposal. And of course, this is one of the differences in what you see with Prop 1 and probably a lot of other programs that you're used to seeing. When the projects come to us through a concept proposal, which the template is on our website, the projects are all in very different stages, and so they move forward at their own pace as we're working with the proponents to develop those proposals. We provide feedback to the applicants as they address the issues that we identify in the concept proposals. The Conservancy has received 8 concept proposals to date. As I mentioned at our last meeting, one of those was deemed ineligible under general obligation bond law, so that's why you only see 7 concept proposals on or projects on the table on the report. Staff's currently working with 4 applicants to assess the viability of proposed projects and 3 applicants to develop full proposals. Again, these are each unique projects and on very different timelines in addressing the issues and moving towards development of a full proposal. Some of them may ultimately identify issues that can't be addressed at this time, and the project may go on hiatus for a while until the issues are solvable. Then finally, I'd like to mention that as things seem to be gradually moving back to some kind of a new normal in our nationwide and global situation, we're getting more interest again from potential applicants. Excuse me, we're asking for meetings about potential Prop 68 projects, and we expect things to continue picking up more. We've recently received 2 requests for meetings to discuss potential projects, and we'll continue to evaluate opportunities for outreach and collaboration and developing projects as appropriate. So I'm going to stop there. If anybody has any questions about the report or anything on the verbal report or the written report, I'd be glad to answer questions.
Anyone have questions for Robin?
I do. One quick question.
Oh.
So how long?
Hi, Leo. Good.
Hi. How long will proposals continue to be accepted?
At this point, there is no end date. You know, obviously, the obvious end date would be when we run out of money. There may be a point that we decide we have too many in the works and we need to kind of, you know, a little break from getting any new ones in. We're certainly not at that point now, but there is no stated end date.
Great, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Robin? All right, thank you for that report, Robin. And moving on, we are going to item 8, which is the Delta Mercury Exposure Reduction Program. And this is the final update, and Kurt Sandu is giving us this report.
Hi, everyone. Actually, can I get the slides put up? So move away from
yeah.
Oh, it's a shithole.
Yes, give me a second, please.
That he's supposed to dust and anything, and so the photographer's name was Alex. So I walked Alex through. I got that goddamn toothpaste off.
Somebody probably needs to go on mute.
Had all his
there you go.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. Good morning. My name's Kit Sandu, and I worked as an environmental scientist for the Delta Mercury Exposure Reduction Program, also known as Delta Merc. Today, I will be providing a 6-year program overview and its accomplishments. Next slide, please.
Campbell, I did give you control.
Oh, me, sorry.
I mean, I can control it if you'd like me to. It's fine.
I don't seem to be able to control it though. I'm hitting down arrows and right arrows, so
Let me
maybe
go ahead and do it.
There you go.
Right. So in 2012, the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board worked with Delta stakeholders to develop a strategy to fund and implement a Delta mercury exposure reduction program, also known as Delta Merc. Funds were allocated by the State Water Quality Control Board to contract with the Sacramento San Joaquin Delta Conservancy to fund Merc staff, such as myself. The Department of Water Resources, the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, the Department of Water Quality, the Water Quality Control Board, and the Department of Public Health, along with our Conservancy, came together to form a steering committee, and they developed the goal to protect public health by reducing the risk of exposure to methylmercury from eating fish from the Delta. Next slide. So mercury is a naturally occurring element and can be found in the air, soil, and water. Methylmercury is a toxic form of mercury that forms when bacteria reacts with mercury in water, soil, and or plants. Typically, it's produced in mercury-laden sediment, such as that from legacy mining operations. In 1848, the California Gold Rush stimulated the rapid creation of gold mining operations that used mercury to extract gold from its ore, and also the creation of hundreds of mercury mines throughout the Coast Ranges. So consequently, mercury is now found everywhere. It's extending from San Francisco Bay to the Coast Ranges to the Sierra Nevadas and far beyond, and it contaminates all of those environments. Next slide, please. So how does mercury accumulate into fish tissue? There's two main processes, as you can see. The first is bioaccumulation, which occurs when contaminants build up or accumulate over time. As you can see, as the fish is growing, the contaminant accumulates. And the second process is biomagnification, which occurs when contaminants accumulate as they move up the food chain. You can see that in the picture below. As the fish go up the food chain, obviously the larger predatory fish have higher levels of contaminant. Next slide, please. So mercury can be found in fish tissue, and it can cause health problems. There's two main groups that are most vulnerable to mercury contamination. The first is developing fetuses in the womb, babies and young children, especially women who may become pregnant, pregnant women and nursing women. Methylmercury exposure in the womb can adversely affect a baby's growing brain and nervous system. The primary health effect of methylmercury is impaired neurological development. Therefore, cognitive thinking, memory, attention, language, and fine motor and visual spatial skills can be affected, especially in children who are exposed to methylmercury in utero. Next slide, please. And as you can see, the second group consists of people who frequently eat the fish that they catch from the Delta and their families who consume those fish. So high mercury exposure in adults also presents differently than in children. Symptoms may include numbness, tingling, loss of balance, shaking, difficulty walking or hearing, and changes in vision. Other illnesses can present similarly, and there's not enough medical data available about high mercury exposure for health professionals to recognize and diagnose these symptoms. Next slide, please. So to reach our goal, we conducted the following activities. It was our priority to identify disadvantaged populations so we could work with those communities and determine what messages, educational materials, and modes of distribution are most appropriate for them. In order to be effective, we convened a stakeholder group, and we also prioritized translating the advisory information into other languages. We also posted advisory signs throughout the Delta, and we evaluated how effective our signs were through a survey project. Next slide, please. Okay, so Since 2007, the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment has issued 3 consumption advisories for the Delta. I'm sorry. And I'm so sorry. We went through a process where we developed all of our graphics through a review process with the 5 collaborating agencies, so we could clearly convey messages. Previous materials required a high level of English proficiency to convey messages, so we created simplified graphics, such as the image on the right, which show step-by-step fish preparation. We also translated all of our materials into the appropriate languages and dialects. As you can see here, we had 8 languages, but we also work with our partnering agencies to provide additional languages. Next slide, please. So since 2014, Delta Merc awarded small grants to community-based organizations in underserved Delta communities. These community-based organizations distributed Merc educational materials to their program participants, which included parents and children. They also tested and reviewed our draft materials and collected feedback from staff and participants. With their feedback, we were able to learn which languages they needed and how to best develop graphics. We provided over 13 organizations with grants over 3 grant cycles, and the grantees provided over 50 staff and volunteer trainings, and they conducted over 10,000, conducted outreach to over 10,000 families and individuals over the course of 6 years. We distributed educational materials through social media, outreach events, and signposting. Each community-based organization also conducted workshops, community events, provided presentations at clinics, in one-on-one sessions, through support groups and training specific to their programs. And all of this was done through this series of networks that we were able to create. Next slide, please. So we also collaborated with our tribal coordinators and tribal affiliated groups, such as public health centers. We went out to Delta communities and attended cultural events such as Powwows and Sacramento Native American Day. We provided materials to hundreds of people at informational booths. At each one of these events, we easily reached out to over 150 people and families. And you really can't underestimate the power of a spin wheel and candy. We were able to draw in a lot of people and get conversations started. Next slide, please. So along with these tribal outreach efforts, we also posted signs throughout the Delta. We collected selected sites in areas where we believed subsistence fishing was occurring, such as areas with free public fishing access, sites with access had high visibility near low-income communities. We collaborated with state agencies, cities, counties, regional parks, private owners, private business owners, private property owners. We worked with everybody we could. And we collectively posted 147 signs throughout the Delta at over 90 sites. Some sites had multiple signs. Sites included fishing access points, piers, bait and tackle shops, parks, harbors, marinas, RV parks, camping grounds, libraries, and educational centers. Over 90% of our sites were posted in or near disadvantaged communities at risk. Next slide, please. So the funding for this program will end in June, and there's no long-term funding currently identified to continue this work. The Regional Water Quality Control Board will be leading the efforts by continuing providing health advisory materials and translation services as needed. They will work with the Department of Water Resources to continue printing and graphic services, and they also committed to holding an annual steering committee meeting, which we plan on having to participate in, but overall they'll be providing us any updates and relevant changes in the future. Next slide, please. So the community grants and outreach existed and provided us connections to thousands of vulnerable women and children in underserved communities. And we received recognition from these communities at events such as the Asian Pacific Self-Development and Residential Association Anniversary Dinner. And we also received an accolade from the Sierra Fund. They provided us the Golden Pine Cone, and we have been very touched and honored to attribute our success to all the outreach that we've been able to do. MERP really has been a success because of the combined community outreach and signposting efforts. Really, one can't be done without the other, and that's why we've been able to be so effective. And it's honestly been an honor working for this program. Next slide. Thank you all for allowing me to present. And do you have any questions?
The only comment I would like to make is in both the agenda, which isn't the problem, but in the slides, it misspells your first name. And so I want to make sure you get the appropriate credit for people who go to our website and look at things. So could that be changed?
So my name is spelled with an R. The R is silent to make it easier.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes.
Then that's fine. I'm sorry, because on the screen it doesn't have an R. So, all right, then your name is appropriately spelled. For someone whose name frequently gets misspelled, I'm always attuned to that. Thank you for that presentation. Hi, Dolly. I see. Are you just waving, or you want to say something?
I'm waving
Okay.
to say something.
Okay. And we love to hear the birds in the background.
Yeah, they like to hang out in my trees here. So I'm glad you like that. Campbell and the rest of the staff, I just really appreciate the hard work that's gone into the years of MERP problem solving here. I mean, I remember when Shakora first brought this to the Conservancy and said we really need to do something here, and solicited us as board members for contacts on how to start this program, and to see it several years later come to such great fruition. I thank your staff for its commitment and continuity to keep it going is really fantastic. And I think really the residents in and around the Delta area are the ones who will benefit the most. So just thank you very much, all of you.
Yeah, I would just like to echo that too. Kit has really done a fantastic job. This has been a very successful program. I think it's brought real value to the Delta and Delta communities in partnership with the Regional Water Quality Control Board, a very, very collaborative effort. It's really just a shame that there's not funding there to keep it going, but we'll try to stay engaged any way we can. Thank you, Kit. You've done
Jim,
a fantastic job.
Jim, I see that you'd like to speak.
Yes,
Jim
thank you.
Provenza?
Yeah, I appreciate this program very much. I had a chance to work as chair of the YOLO First Five on the efforts in Yolo County. I know they were very much appreciated, and I think it will help particularly people from disadvantaged communities protect themselves. I did have a question in terms of the ongoing. Are the water boards all committed to continuing some effort and then kind of reporting back to us on a regular basis so that we can keep up with it?
Yes, so they're not all the water boards, but the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Board, Region 5, they have committed their time. They've allocated some staff time to continue efforts and maintain material distribution and also provide those translation services. So they will be providing us yearly updates on that.
Great.
And then also the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, they update those advisories every 2 years. Sorry? And so they update those advisories, and once they're updated, we plan on we plan on,
Hey, Kit.
you know, updating them.
Kit, if you
Yeah,
could
your
maybe
audio's-
turn off your video, you're breaking up.
Yeah. Sorry, I turned it off before. Yes, so with the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, they'll be providing us updated advisories to the Merc program, specifically working with the Regional Water Quality Control Board to update materials as needed, and also the Regional Water Quality Control Board will be the lead agency moving forward, and they'll provide us yearly updates as needed.
Great, thank you. And I would urge that we also be on the lookout for any grant opportunities in the future for future involvement. I think this is a very worthwhile area.
And I saw Deborah's wanting to speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo everybody else's comments and what a great job Kit has done. We were sad to lose her with the Conservancy, and I just wanted to, make everybody aware that, Kit's last day with us was, I believe, the 14th, and so Kit has come today to do this presentation just out of the goodness of her heart on her own time. So that just really demonstrates her commitment to the program, and we really, really appreciate it.
That's great.
Thank you so much, Kit. Dawn, did you want to say something? You lit up.
No, just kudos. Thanks, Kit. Thanks, everybody. I thought the project went well. Thanks.
Great.
Well, thank you.
Oh, okay. Yes, thank you so much, Kit. We appreciate all you have done and hope our paths cross again in the future. Anything water related, somehow or another, we're going to cross paths. Maybe path isn't the right term. We have to come up with a water term. All righty. That means we're moving on to item 9, which is the Delta Stewardship Council update. Amanda's going to give that report.
Yes, good morning. Can everyone hear me okay?
Good morning. Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Amanda.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you, Chairman Choff and Conservancy board members. I have just a few updates that I want to share with you, and then I'm actually going to invite Eva Bush from the Delta Science Program to provide a brief overview of the process that the Stewardship Council and the Science Program is just getting underway to update the Delta Science Action Agenda. So first, just in terms of some updates, we are going to be the Council will be holding a virtual public hearing on July 6th regarding the appeal of the certification of consistency submitted by Westlands Water District regarding the Lower Yolo Ranch Restoration Project. The Council will make findings either denying the appeal or remanding the matter back to Westlands no later than 60 days following the hearing. And there is a lot of additional information regarding the appeal and the certification process itself and Westlands certification on the Council's website. So I encourage you, if you have questions, to go there first. To try and find some answers to that. Second, on June 3rd, the Delta Plan Interagency Implementation Committee and the Delta Independent Science Board is hosting part 2 of a 4-part virtual discussion series focusing on how to build an effective Delta science enterprise. The June 3rd session will include a panel discussion between Paul Souza of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Jennifer Pierre from the State Water Contractors, and your very own Campbell Ingram to consider what decision makers and stakeholders need to know in the future in light of what we understand about climate change impacts, as well as the implications of future changes on management needs. And there's also more information regarding how to actually participate in this virtual discussion on the Council's website as well. And then finally, just a little update on the amendment to Chapter 4 of the Delta Plan. The Council has initiated the CEQA process for the amendment. On May 11th, the Council published a notice of preparation for a forthcoming draft program environmental impact report related to the proposed amendment. And again, there's a lot more information on the Council's website about the process that has gone into. It's been a multi-year process at this point to develop the amendment. And so there's a lot more information on there. And if anyone has more specific questions, I'm happy to put you in contact with the staff. So before I turn it over to Eva, are there any questions about any of those updates? Okay. Well, with that, oh, yeah, no problem. So yeah, I'm going to now turn it over to Eva Bush. Eva is a senior environmental scientist with the Delta Science Program, which is part of the Delta Stewardship Council. And we are embarking on updating what is called the Science Action Agenda, which I know some of you are familiar with, but some of you may not be as familiar with. And so Eva's just going to talk a little bit about what that process is and why we're doing it. And I'll pipe in where needed as well.
You're currently muted yourself. If you can unmute yourself.
So I have an aquarium in my room and everybody tells me that they can hear the water. So I'm trying to make sure that I wasn't, and everybody didn't have to listen to that second time. Sorry. So thank you for the opportunity to give you this update. So the Delta Science program updates the science section agenda every 5 years. The current science action agenda covered 2017 to 2021. So the next iteration is due in 2021. So we have started to do the outreach to collaborative groups in the science community and other stakeholders in the Delta to meet that the 2022 goal. So I don't know, some of you may be familiar with the Delta Science strategy. We updated the Delta Science plan last year, so there was talk about it then. The Science Action Agenda is one of the 3 guiding documents of the Delta Science strategy. So the Delta Science Plan is the overarching document, and that identifies tools, organizational structures, mechanisms, and actions needed for a more collaborative and integrated Delta Science community. The State of the Day Delta Science is a summary of current scientific knowledge in the Delta and communicates this knowledge to address key management needs. It highlights progress made on key research questions, and it identifies remaining knowledge gaps. And then the Science Action Agenda, the 3rd document, establishes focused science actions to achieve the objectives of the Delta Science Plan and address the key management issues. So these documents are published by the Delta Science Program to guide science actions, collaboration, and coordination in the Delta. So the purpose of the Science Action Agenda is to identify science topics for proposal solicitations and collaborative science initiatives. It guides funding decisions for the Delta Stewardship Council and can be used as a resource for other agencies as well. It's meant to really. It also guides content of science work plans and topic-specific implementation plans. So the 2022 version of the Science Action Agenda will also be organized by management needs, like the previous version, but will stem from management questions, which was called for by the 2019 Delta Science Funding and Governance Initiative, as opposed to starting with the science questions. So from the management questions, the science actions are then developed. And for reference, the last iteration of the Science Action Agenda had a total of 5 action areas where you had different actions grouped under. And there is a schematic. We emailed an information sheet out not until yesterday, and the board clerk will have that for reference if somebody wants that as a resource. And that there's a schematic on there. So our timeline, this spring, we're reaching out to agencies and stakeholders working in the Delta. We're asking them to provide their management questions and asking for feedback on the criteria we are using for the management questions and science actions to be selected by the Science Action Agenda. In the summer, we are scoping for management questions. We're going to merge the list that we have received. And we will start to apply the screening criteria. And then we will organize those management questions by topic and hold a public workshop to define the top management questions. And then after the workshop, this list will be published for review for people who weren't able to attend the workshop. And they can then provide feedback that way. And for the fall, we are going to start with the Science Action Agenda content creation. So we will select the most relevant questions for the Science Action Agenda, organize management questions into management needs, and publish for public review again. And then we will hold a second public workshop to identify the science actions that are viewed as most relevant. And then after that is all accomplished, we will release a draft, again, for the public review. And if we stay, we are hoping to have the final copy printed in winter of 2022. So any management questions can be submitted with consideration by email for now, but we are working on a way to submit management questions online through a survey as well, but that's not up yet. And the purpose of the screening criteria is really to ensure that any management questions that we get are Delta specific. So the website should be complete and live shortly. That will have a survey link. You can also email myself or Rachel Klopfenstein at the Delta Science Program. And I think that's it. Thank you very much for your time. Amanda, did you have anything to add?
I'll just add that I think, we'll definitely be making sure that Campbell and Deborah and their staff are aware of all the different opportunities to participate in this. And I think too, most of you on the Conservancy's board are policymakers or decision makers at the county level. And I think really this extra emphasis that we're placing on the identification of management needs and management questions, really trying to understand what policymakers need to know moving forward so that we can identify the science actions that we need to be doing, that we need to be funding over the next 5 years and potentially longer is really key. So if any of you have any ideas about how we can better get that kind of information or engage with all of you to get your thoughts, please let us know. But again, we'll make sure that Campbell and staff are aware of all of these opportunities and really want their participation in this too.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. I think we'll definitely keep an eye out to future board meetings, ways to keep the board updated. But maybe even think about a focus session at a board meeting that maybe tees up example management questions and has a little more in-depth engagement on that specific topic. So we'll kind of suss that out for whatever timeline works best for the process.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and I did not mention, I think the first public workshop we're hoping to hold in September. So that gives you some idea, but we don't have a firm date yet
because we don't know how it will be handled yet. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
We're pretty much thinking it's going to be virtual at this point, but we're trying to fit it in with other items as well.
Does anyone have any other comments or questions for either Eva or Amanda? All right, thank you again for the report. And moving on, we're going to go to item, I'm sorry?
Oh, no, I just said thank you.
You're welcome. Item 10 is the Delta Protection Commission update. Is Eric on the line? I know we called his name, but I'm not sure he's on.
Yes, I'm here, Chair Mitchoff. Thank you.
There you are, Eric. Hi.
Hi there. Thank you, and board members. I just wanted to report on a few items today briefly. Like everyone else, we're kind of chomping at the bit for how we can get back to the public-facing part of our work. Some of it can be done through means such as this. We're appreciative of those, but we're starting to hit the limit of remote technology on some of our work, and I suspect this is something that everyone is grappling with in all venues of their work world and perhaps even personally as well. We noticed it most recently in a flurry of work related to the Delta Conveyance project, and I know that Carrie Buckman will be providing an update on that following me, but ensuring that there is good participation from the Delta community in some of these public input opportunities. It's different when one is submitting a comment letter on a notice of preparation document, which many of us did last month. It's a little different when there's a need for in-person meetings and an opportunity to share information in a way that really can only be done when everyone's looking at the same diagram, schematic, map, etc. So we continue to ensure and be a voice, hoping to ensure that those processes are using either the best technology or where appropriate, they can be postponed until we do have the opportunity to get beyond the worst of this emergency period. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that our work continues on the National Heritage area. We have a consultant team working with us, and when we're able to go out to the public again, which we hope is soon, I'm not the one hammering, by the way, just in case you're wondering. We will go out to the public, hopefully again soon. And then finally, our work continues on updating the economic sustainability plan for the Delta, specifically the work related to the recreation and tourism chapter. And we were able to conduct some very useful focus groups with recreation providers just as we were kind of getting into the lockdown, and then have actually been able to complete one since then as well. But it's a very interesting time to be talking with recreation providers in the Delta. You know, we're heading into a very uncertain summer season ahead, and doing our best to document the condition of that, both pre-pandemic and then what that might look like post-pandemic as well. Anyway, that's what I wanted to report on. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Are there any questions for Eric or any comments? All right. Thank you again, Eric. And we will move on to item 11, which is the Delta conveyance update. And that will be presented by Carrie Buckman. Hi, Carrie.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you. So I wanted to provide a few updates today. The biggest one is that we just finished the public scoping process, and I think a lot of people on this call submitted comments. Thank you for your time and effort on that. We are working now towards a public draft environmental impact report in early 2021. So as part of the scoping process, we had a 93-day public comment period from January 15th through April 17th, 2020. We had 8 public meetings with a total of 735 attendees combined across all meetings. We received approximately 850 comment letters, which included over 3,500 individual comments. So currently, we're spending a lot of time reviewing that feedback. So we're working to read all of the letters from the agencies and members of the public and consider how to consider all of that for development of the draft EIR, specifically regarding the range of alternatives that will be evaluated in detail and the scope of the environmental impact analysis. We're also preparing a scoping report that captures all of the scoping related information, including the comments received and the transcripts from the in-person meetings. And we're working on starting the draft EIR. So that's right now mostly focused on research, developing environmental settings and in regulatory settings, and starting to identify the methodology for analysis of impacts. Additionally, we're working on tribal consultation. So we had reached out to 121 tribes to identify if they wanted to participate under AB 52 or DWR's tribal engagement process. And we did hear back from a number of them, but with COVID-19, the pace of their participation has varied somewhat. So we're participating in consultation with the tribes that are ready to talk to us, and for those that aren't, we're just making sure they know we're here when they're ready and we're interested in it. But we're following their lead in terms of how to proceed. And then for upcoming milestones, we're planning to publish the scoping report in the summer, so in a couple of months probably. Selection of alternatives will be shortly after that, and the draft EIR is in early 2021. So I also wanted to provide a quick update on the Delta Conveyance Design and Construction Authority, the DCA, their Stakeholder Engagement Committee. So the Stakeholder Engagement Committee provides input to the DCA on the design of facilities to help minimize construction-related impacts to local communities. And so the DCA shares all of the in-progress work that they're doing on the design with that group to hear feedback. Meetings have shifted to monthly meetings, and the next meeting is today from 3 to 6. It's focused on traffic, so it's presenting some information about preliminary planning level analysis of potential traffic and ways to avoid some of that traffic. These meetings are remote only, so the information on how to participate is on the DCA's website, which is dcdca.org. These meetings are a good way to stay in touch. They present a lot of technical detail and technical information, and so it has a lot of up-to-date information on what's going on the project. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on is some of the soil investigation work. So DWR is working to investigate subsurface materials. We have a number of investigations that we're looking at in 2020 that we're considering. The first is court-ordered entry soil explorations. So these are soil explorations that have been planned for quite some time, but were the subject of court investigations. So in April 2020, the issue of access was resolved in court. So those must be completed this summer. We did get an extension from the court so that they can be completed through November of 2020 because of the COVID-19 public health situation. So that will be 6 borings and 1 cone penetration test in Sacramento County, and 6 borings and 1 cone penetration test in San Joaquin County. And those are currently planned for late summer, early fall. The second activity that we're considering are publicly owned land explorations associated with the 2019 initial study mitigated negative declaration. So this is only on publicly owned land. We're considering Caltrans or county owned parcels, but we need to obtain encroachment permits from Caltrans and other entities as appropriate before we would move forward. No activities would occur before we finalize the initial study and mitigated negative declaration, and DWR needs to make a decision to approve the soil survey work with issue of a notice of determination. That has not been completed yet, and we're considering acting on these when the governor's stay-at-home order is lifted. The last activity we're thinking about this year in terms of soil exploration is to start talking to the privately owned private landowners about land exploration associated with the 2019 ISMND. So what we would be doing this year is not planning any actual physical actions, but just talking to landowners about obtaining temporary entry permits to start explorations in 2021. So that is an overview of all of the activities that we are working on right now. And are there any questions?
Any questions for Carrie? Don?
No,
Don,
Karen, I don't have any questions. Yeah, no, I don't have any questions. Yes, thanks, Karen.
All right.
Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Not seeing any. Is that the end of your report, Carrie?
It is. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 12, which is Eco Restore update by Charlotte Biggs.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. This is Charlotte Biggs with the Department of Water Resources. Okay, good. So I'll just give a quick update on the Eco Restore initiative. The one thing that I wanted to highlight today is that we are celebrating the 5-year anniversary of the Eco Restore initiative this spring. It was launched end of April 2015, so it's been 5 years. And so we are putting out some updated outreach materials just in the next couple of days. I was hoping they would have been out before today's meeting, but we are dealing with the ADA contractor issue with putting some outreach materials on our website. So I'm sure other people can relate to that kind of slowing things down. So we did an expanded fact sheet that just sort of highlights some of our accomplishments and progress that's been made over the last 5 years. And I say we because it's really a collective we. Eco Restore, is a portfolio of different projects and efforts, and a lot of that has been supported by the Delta Conservancy specifically. So our highlight fact sheet, which is just about 8 pages, we highlight a lot of the accomplishments that the Delta Conservancy has contributed to specifically. We talked a lot about the Prop 1 project and the program that Aaron highlighted earlier, and as well as the Delta Carbon program. And we also highlight the Dutch Slough revegetation effort. Of course, the Dutch Slough tidal wetland restoration project is under construction, but we specifically mentioned the re-veg effort that you all supported. So I just wanted to highlight that for you all. here. And this document, this fact sheet should be out, as I mentioned, in just a couple of days. I just wanted to mention for today's discussion, when I say progress and moving things forward, I just wanted to mention it's not just acres that I'm talking about or projects being completed. I think when we talk about eco-restore, we're talking more broadly about coordination, you know, strengthening partnerships, working together, working with more landowners on the types of projects that they want to do on their land that they're comfortable with. So it's really a lot more broad than just acres or getting projects completed. But of course, we do update our figures on acres. And so our website is also being updated right now. And so we will have new graphics and new tracking information that's been updated to reflect sort of where we are right now. It's hard to do that every month, so we try and do it once a year because projects, sometimes we think they're going to go to construction and something will change and they won't be able to, or we were hoping they were going to be completed and something changes. So we try and update all of our figures every April. So those will be coming out in just a couple of days. And the last thing I wanted to mention, we also highlight in the fact sheet, just that our work, we really see our work as, you know, we're just starting. Any project that we are doing habitat restoration on, construction is definitely not the completion state. We have long-term O&M and we have obligations to ensure that those sites are well taken care of into the future, well funded, that we are, you know, if they're state owned, that we are a good neighbor. So I just wanted to highlight that those themes are definitely in this fact sheet, and we are definitely close to, you know, our hearts at Eco-Restore. We're very focused on long-term O&M right now, actually at the department, and working with our partners. So I just wanted to share that. And in terms of how to get these materials, just because of our ADA compliance issue, I didn't send them to Jessica to have them as materials for today because we'd have to post them on your website as well. But they will be on the DWR webpage. We have an Eco-Restore site, and we are going to be migrating to just using that one website. So if you're used to looking at Eco-Restore on the Natural Resources webpage, there'll probably be a home page, little redirection there that'll take you to the new DWR site. And we're going to have all the videos there and all the past information that we've put together. And then all these new graphics I'm talking about will be on that website as well. So I know that you all have a lot of outreach that you do, different groups that you work with. So if ever our information is helpful for you, please feel free to, you know, use it. And also always feel free to reach out to me if you have any specific questions about any of the projects or information that we have on the website. And I'm listed as the point of contact there, so it should be easy to find me, but I'm always available. So I think that was all I really had to update you on today, but let me know if you have any specific questions. I'm happy to answer.
Thank you so much. Charlotte, anybody have, Dolly?
So Charlotte, thanks for your presentation. Can you email that information to Deborah once your ADA compliant website goes up so that we can link over directly to that?
Yes, absolutely. Good idea.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, Charlotte. We appreciate the partnership and very glad that our work contributes to Eco-Restore. It's been an amazing effort. And also really appreciate the opportunity to review and provide feedback on the upcoming fact sheet. I think everybody will appreciate the design of it and all the information. So we'll make sure that you get a chance to link to it and get to review it. So thanks again, Charlotte.
Thank you. And I know we only have a few items left, but I have to leave the meeting for another Zoom meeting. So I am going to turn this over to our vice chair and let him complete the agenda. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Karen. Bye.
All right.
Better unmute myself. So actually we only have really 3 agenda items. The 13th potential agenda items for our July 22nd meeting. Campbell?
Yes, so In the board packet, there's the standard little overview. The one thing to note is that we do have board elections every July, so we will be doing that. Historically, the chair and vice chair have served for 2 terms, but obviously we do elections every July, so we'll be reaching out to both Leo and Karen to make sure that they are still interested and willing and happy to participate for another year. And it might be a formality, or we might need to make a change. We'll have to see. I put a tour of the Bay Point Habitat Restoration Project on there, which we were hoping actually to do today. I think that looks exceedingly unlikely at this point, unfortunately, but we will try to do that as soon as possible. We did mention that several times today that there'll be a full overview of the nutria eradication program from top to bottom, so that should be very interesting. And other than that, we're open to suggestions. That's really the purpose of this agenda item, is to get anything that anyone else would like to make sure that we're covering. One other quick note is that we would have a program and policy subcommittee mid-June, but at this point, staff doesn't have anything that we think we need to cover. But of course, we're open to any member of that effort, their suggestions on the need to get together and have that subcommittee meeting. So leave it at that and open for questions.
Any comments, questions from the board?
Jim?
Yes. I'm wondering, are we going to be coming back to discuss the issue of dealing with the subsidence of the Delta Islands and the project that could possibly contribute to carbon reduction by addressing those issues?
Yeah, I appreciate the suggestion. Certainly, I would be happy to try to do just an update to the board on all aspects of the Delta Carbon Program. There really has been a lot of progress, a lot of success, and a real groundswell of interest. So I'd be happy to do that, Jim. We'll make that part of the agenda for sure.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, this is Skip Thompson.
Hi, Skip.
Okay, I apologize. I should have mentioned this when Campbell was talking about the signage in the Delta. But Campbell, the Delta Visitor Center 12 and 160 has applied for a Prop 68 grant. Do you know anything about this? Do you know the status of that application?
Yes, so they're currently under viability assessment, and we just received an executive summary of that assessment, and we'll be notifying them of next steps in the very near term.
What about some sort of a support letter on this application?
So through the full proposal development process, there is a fairly extensive effort to try to demonstrate support. So ultimately, the proponent would be reaching out to local, local government entities as well as their neighbors to garner support and be able to demonstrate that through the full proposal process. So I think that opportunity is definitely in the future.
Okay, I would hope my colleagues would consider having their boards send a letter of support on this application. So thank you. Those were my comments.
Great, thanks.
Any other comments? No. Campbell, just one suggestion. At some point in time, consider touring the Dutch Slough project area, since it's in its implementation phase now as well.
Yeah, that would be great. We had done that once a long time ago, but to be able to see sort of a, that progression, will definitely make that happen.
Great. So with that, we'll move on. Any public comments?
We had one public comment come in asking about the recording of the board meeting, which it will be posted on our website once it's available. And other than that, James, do we have any hands raised?
There's no hands raised, but we want to remind everybody that's on the phone to press #2 to raise your hand, or if you are in the Zoom application on your phone or on the desktop, there is a raise hand feature down at the bottom of the windows usually.
Okay, thank you.
Nicole Rinke with the AG's office has had time during this call to look into the notification issue question that was raised at the first public comment. So Nicole, do you want to respond to that, please?
Hi there, sorry, I was still muted. Nicole Rinke with the Attorney General's office here as counsel for the board. The Bagley-Keaton does not typically require physical posting of agendas at physical locations except for in unusual circumstances such as for teleconference meetings. But any of those requirements have been waived by executive order from the governor's office due to COVID-19. So there is no requirement for you to physically post the agenda at a place. You do still comply with the Bagley-Keaton requirements for sending notice to somebody if it's been requested by email. And also you're complying still with the notice requirements for posting the agenda 10 days in advance of the meeting and all of that. So if anybody, in response to the public comment that was received earlier in the meeting, I would just encourage that individual to follow up with you if there's a specific request that she has regarding receiving adequate notice of the meeting for future meetings. So thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. And I think just I'll just add that we always post the agenda for the board meeting 10 business days in advance of the board meeting per Bagley-Keaton requirement. And then we typically post all the board materials the Wednesday before. So there's a full 7 days prior to the board meeting where they are available for review in advance.
We do have one person that does want to make a comment. They can't figure out how to raise their hand, so I'll just unmute them at this point in time. It's Martha.
Great.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great, thank you. Yeah, as a member of the public, I haven't been able to respond to any of the agenda items, and I wasn't attending the entire meeting. I came in at, I think it was item number 5, and then I had to go out for 20 minutes, and then I came back. But I have not heard the public comments fielded to the agenda items. I was going to ask on Frank's track, and I know that I didn't see Frank's track on the agenda, so I guess this would be an off agenda item comment. I was just wondering about the nutria eradication. Have you had any reports of nutria in because we've seen some sorts of animals out there, not sure what they are.
Yeah.
Out the track.
So nutria have only been sorry.
Yeah, and a second part of my comment regarding Frank's track. Two things. When was the I've only heard it from other people. I haven't really read anything about it, but the Frank's track proposal to fill it with muck or something from the tunnels, that's from the rumor mill. Not sure where those public meetings are being held, and is Delta Protection Commission getting involved with hopefully trying to stop that. Okay, I'll stop and listen. Thank you.
So we'll take the first question first. Nutria have been detected only in one place in the Delta, down by Rough and Ready Island, outside of Stockton, and there have been no further detections in the Delta since that time, and that was probably 6 months ago. There have been some detected in Walthall Slough, which is just outside the Delta in the south, and so they really have not shown up in the Delta. There is a pocket guide that we can try to get you that helps identify the difference between the muskrats and the beaver and the nutria. And then there's also a hotline that you can call if you have, or people are seeing sightings that they're fairly convinced are nutria. And we very much appreciate that input. With regard to Frank's tract, this is the Delta Conservancy meeting, not the Delta Protection Commission. And we have not been actively engaged in the Frank's Tract planning. The lead for that is the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and I believe you can go on their website and look up Frank's Tract and find the all the plans that have been done to date and the future outreach efforts to move that project forward. It is a relatively long-term planning effort to try to move that project forward. If you have trouble getting any of that information, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll make sure we can connect you to it.
Thank you. Thank you. One more, is this items off the agenda?
Sure.
Okay. Just concerned with, I didn't know about this meeting until this morning when I opened up my email and I saw that it was, the email was sent to me yesterday at about 3 p.m. And I'm just wondering, have the notification, the 10-day requirements prior to meetings been changed, and the public noticing requirements, have things been changed because of the COVID-19?
There have been some minor changes, but the notification changes have not changed. We post the agenda 10 business days before the meeting on our webpage, as well as send it out to a very large distribution list. And then we post all the materials the Wednesday before the meeting, 7 days in advance of the meeting. If you're interested, you can get on that list to make sure that you receive that.
I think I am on your list. I've been on your list since sometime last fall, I believe. But I only received the notification this morning. So I don't know.
Well, if you can, why don't you shoot us an email with the email address that it's listed, and we'll verify. But the materials have been out, and everyone else received them under that distribution. So we'll make sure that you are appropriately in there.
Thank you, Martha.
Okay, thank you. Also, one more question. As far as public notification, is it not?
Sorry, it looks like you just muted yourself. Martha, if you can hear us, you might want to try to unmute yourself.
I pressed a button asking her to unmute.
Nope.
Hello?
Hello, you're back.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, I didn't know I pressed anything. I'm unaware that the public, the physical location noticing requirements have changed, have they?
Our Attorney General just mentioned a minute ago that that there is no requirement within Bagley-Keene for physical noticing at this time.
Huh, okay, okay. I guess I'm more aware of Brown Act requirements. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Okay, hearing none. Do we need to vote to close, to adjourn, or?
No, we don't, Leo. I think you just need to adjourn the meeting. But just before you do that, I just want to put a special thank you out to all the Conservancy staff who just continue to perform exceptionally under these rather unique circumstances. And just want to make sure that the board recognizes the dedication and the hard work of staff that just continues, whether we're in the office or out of the office. And just want to say how much I appreciate them.
But I certainly would like to second that, and I'm sure the board concurs in that as well. So yes, thank you very much. I mean, we know it's not easy, and we know we have to continuously adapt and change as this moves along. And it's just the beginning. So anyhow, thank you everybody for joining this board meeting. Thank you board members and the public for participating, Campbell. And with that, I adjourn the meeting.
Great. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Campbell.
Thank you.
Everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.